Hello folks, do you know that Jean is still viable even years later? She was in the game since launch, but is still one of the only characters that can do true damage today. And this true damage scales off the enemy's max HP, not current. And this scaling is important. As the game continues, enemies will have more and more HP, meanwhile, your main team will have a fairly consistent DPS. My team here does around the same damage every rotation or cycle, which means it will take longer and longer to defeat the hardy foes, especially those in the Spiral Abyss. But with Jean, she can do true damage to most small and normal sized enemies by utilizing gravity and fall damage. Her weapon and artifacts won't affect this damage, so it's not limited to gear. Let's look at solo Jean taking care of this legend. All you need to do is hold her elemental skill near the enemy and they will get lifted. Then you can shoot them straight up and what goes up must come down. And her skill's cooldown is low enough for you to loop this, but we want to squeeze in more damage. If you land a charge attack first, the enemy will float in the air. Then aim straight at the ground and hold her elemental skill to suck the enemy to where you are pointing. This causes the enemy to take another instance of fall damage, and the damage is calculated by their velocity when hitting the ground. Using this trick, we can do about twice as much damage as shooting them in the air. The only problem is consistency, which depends a little bit on luck. Sometimes the fall damage will be delayed, and other times it just won't happen at all due to server ticks and ping. This trick is best used on floor 12 in the Spiral Abyss, where enemies have health pools in the millions. And her skill has an AoE. You can suck in multiple foes and launch them together, which is very efficient. And your skill pretty much recovers when they are getting back up, so you can almost chain this without fear. I say almost since there is actually a small gap. Another overworld trick is to grab enemies and launch them into water. Land enemies cannot swim, and they die immediately when landing on deep enough water, and as a bonus, their loot spawns right under your feet. You can also yeet foes off cliffs and do some crazy fall damage too. And while Jean cannot launch large enemies, she can still CC some of them very well with a charge attack. And while they're floating around, you can swap to other characters to set up or do some damage. If you want more info on Jean, check out my detailed guide on her by clicking on the pop-up on the top right. And that's a wrap for some of these quick tips for Jean. Thank you for watching, and as always, have fun out there, traveler.